There must be some way out of here.
The last people had heard of Dylan by late 1967, he was the scraggly-haired protest singer turned amphetamine-fueled rocker who'd enraged audiences of folk purists, who felt he'd sold out the cause of the folk music revival by catering his music toward a more pop-oriented audience. After a motorcycle accident in mid-1966 caused him to disappear from the public eye, he'd started to grow a fanatical fan base within the ever-rising counterculture in America. Yet the Monterey Pop Festival and the Summer of Love came and went without his involvement, and as the pop scene started to grow more psychedelic, the expectations began to grow and grow as fans eagerly awaited Dylan's response to the change in times which he himself had predicted in 1964. And when he finally reappeared in the final few days of the year, what he delivered was anything but what they were expecting. Ever the contrarian, Dylan re-emerged from the shadows sporting a beard, his hair shorn, and having made a musical about-face, returning once more to his acoustic, folk-based roots. The wild electricity of Highway 61 revisited and Blonde on Blonde was gone, and in its place was John Wesley Harding, a rustic collection of country-influenced parables, biblical allegories, and riddles. Those expecting something along the likes of Sgt. Pepper would have been taken aback at the almost historically old-fashioned tone of tracks like I Dreamed I Saw St. Augustine, or I Pity the Poor Immigrant.
I pity the poor immigrant.
Yet in hindsight, John Wesley Harding now seems prophetic, a foreboding warning that hippie flower power was a trend which was not going to last much longer. Ironically, the most powerful part of the record wouldn't even be fully realized until after it had been released, as Jimi Hendrix's rendition of the apocalyptic All Along the Watchtower would perfectly set itself against the escalating violence within the country over the course of the following year. But even with all that said, the album's not flawless. In fact, it had the strongest amount of filler on a Dylan record since the transitional Another Side. Tracks like Drifter's Escape and Down Along the Cove evaporate from memory as soon as they're finished playing, and they actually outnumber the amount of great tracks which are on the album. But the great stuff is just so good that the listener ends up remembering more of the better material and less of the weaker ones. So on the whole, John Wesley Harding is a fine record. It doesn't hit the same heights as Dylan's Electric Trilogy, or conjure up the same sense of mystery that listening to the Basement Tapes does. But it is significant in that it marks the beginning of Dylan's rebranding from enigmatic folk singer toward mysterious folk hero.